In March 2024, the Historical Society of Long Beach welcomed a new exhibition to our museum in Bixby Knolls, the Centro de La Raza John A. Taboada Legacy Photo Collection, 1970 to 1985. Months prior to the exhibition's opening, the Long Beach Chicano Community History Committee reached out to the Historical Society seeking to preserve and present the largely unknown history of the Centro de La Raza and the Chicano Movement in Long Beach. To tell this story, the committee graciously donated images belonging to their dear friend John Taboada, affectionately remembered as JT. After graduating with an art degree from Long Beach State, JT took an inspiring trip through Latin America. It was on that journey that he took up photography as a primary form of artistic visual expression. His continued passion for photography allowed him to authentically capture the power, resilience, and self-determination of young Chicanos in 1970s Long Beach. It is JT's images of his time in the Chicano student movement and the Centro that fill these gallery walls. This movement arose in the late 1960s from a demand for educational reform by Mexican American youth. For decades, Mexican communities throughout California struggled under discriminatory educational systems that failed to comprehend their needs. Inspired by the civil rights and farm workers movements, they turned frustration into action, resulting in walkouts, boycotts, and community organizing. This young generation of Mexican Americans called themselves Chicanos, an assertion of a distinct national and cultural identity, an act of resistance and resilience. Chicanos believed only through self-determination and self-liberation within educational systems can the needs of their community be met. At the university level, they were motivated to develop social programs made by Chicanos for Chicanos. From this emerged the 1969 Chicano Studies Blueprint, El Plan de Santa Barbara. The document proposed pathways for self-empowerment and higher education within the community. This includes the concept of the Barrio Center, a Chicano-ran community center offering social services focused on the community's socioeconomic improvement. Just as the student movement was taking hold, the City of Long Beach Commission on Economic Opportunities, LBCEO, established 5 neighborhood centers in 1969 using funds from the Economic Opportunity Act, an important part of President Lyndon B. Johnson's War on Poverty. The East Long Beach Neighborhood Center, also known as the ELBNC, was designated to serve the city's Spanish-speaking and low-income residents of the East Side. During the 1960s and 1970s, Long Beach experienced exponential growth of the city's Mexican population. Redevelopment in West Long Beach, migration from neighboring localities, and increased immigration further concentrated the population within the city's East Side. In 1970, ELBNC Director Rod Martin started a relationship with Chicano students from Long Beach State in an effort to incorporate the growing community within the organization. As participants within the emerging movement, these students were excited by the prospects of creating their own Barrio Center. They worked with Martin to elect a representative board and incorporate the ELBNC as a nonprofit called El Centro de La Raza, a center for the people. From the early 1970s through the mid-1980s, the Centro served thousands of diverse community members with social programs in arts and culture, employment, housing, mental health, and education. This achievement of Chicano self-determination and perseverance impacted every corner of Long Beach and built a proud and resilient community along the way. The exhibition's opening was enthusiastically received by former members of the Centro, public officials, and our Long Beach community. Since its opening, many new and returning visitors have walked in seeking to learn more about this largely unknown history. First Fridays have filled the gallery the most as people stroll around our Bixby Knolls neighborhood supporting local businesses and organizations during this monthly tradition. Former Centro de La Raza members graciously volunteered their time on these nights to interact with guests and answer questions, giving visitors first-hand knowledge of this history. We recorded some visitor reactions to this exhibition on these nights. Here are their responses. The Centro de La Raza exhibition is part of the Historical Society of Long Beach's effort to present an inclusive community narrative and help create a greater understanding of our neighborhoods, the city, and its place in the larger world.